RSP is a cutting-edge architectural practice with more than 200 awards. Ladies and gentlemen, Hud Abu Bakar.
Working with Chor and his team and all various consultants involved has been a tremendous and valuable experience for us in this project. Carl, that was a wonderful presentation, very clear, concise, and I guess we Malaysians really look forward for this wonderful landmark in our country. Being in practice for more than 30 years, we are fortunate to have the opportunity to design all type and complexity of buildings. And we have done building of all sizes, that was mentioned, from simple houses to high-rises, commercial buildings, master plan, and so on. But perhaps I want to share with some of you some of the buildings that we thought has given us challenges and different complexities, which has helped us actually in carrying out this mega task of this Merdeka 118. Okay, these are some of our latest achievement in the last few years. You can see that it ranges from shopping complex to high-rises, and the latest one being the 8 Conley project, which is under construction now. An example of a project that we thought was complex and also that give us some experience, which is very important to undertake a project of this size, is this Nazar Tower. Now, this building has a small site. It was completed in the KLCC Park. And due to the requirement of the clients that it needs to have 2 towers, the building has to be close apart on a small site. And due to that, the tower actually twisted as it goes up. And when this was completed then, it was the first, I think, twin tower twisted building. The challenges there was actually where to place the columns, because the columns are actually slanted as it goes up the tower. And it's actually 50 stories and 38-story building. And you can see the curvature that it forms as it goes up. And these panels of glasses, thousands of them, are actually in a cold joint situation, whereby they are actually brought to site and they actually pushed into location to form the curvature. Yeah. One may think that glass cannot curve and cannot be bent. Actually, it can to certain degrees, and this is actually what's happened here. And that's the building. Another good experience that we have in designing a bit more complex building is this one here, whereby this is the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Building. It's actually a very complex program. It comes very complex program. Ranges from shooting range, of course, offices, one-way mirror, interrogation room, and so on and so forth. And also at the same time, it comes with a requirement that it has a various security level, from low, medium to high security level. Therefore, we have to actually do a proper massing to house all the different requirements. And you can see that during the construction, the lake of the building, and the building really having a podium which is actually more open to the public, and the more secure offices are actually on top. That's why you get the tall lake with the more public spaces at the very bottom. Yeah. So this building is actually in Putrajaya, and it has been photographed many times at different hours of the day. It's quite popular, in fact, over there, and some has even called it the at of Star Wars, being a tall lake there. Some call it ocean liners, and so on. Yeah. But this is one of the biggest anti-corruption offices in the world, actually. Another one that we have successfully completed is actually a MyTech. It's actually an exhibition center. One of the biggest, if not the largest, exhibition center under one roof in Southeast Asia. And this one here has about quite a very long span structure. That's the feature of it, where the floors are actually on 3 floors. It's over 1 million square feet, but it can take different load that ranges from 50 kilonewton per square meters up to about 10 kilonewton per square meters on the very top. So it actually can take even the load of a tank actually on the ground level to have exhibition, to be exhibited. So as you can see, because of the long span, the structure actually take the shape of a shell, and in doing so, the organic shape of it is very complex. The amount of steel work, the turning that you can see there, is tremendous, and you really need a special software to do this kind of building. This is the finished product from the south side. It actually represents the rubber seed, if you will, which is actually an industrial crop for Malaysia, because this belongs to MyTech, which actually goes overseas and exhibit and promote the Malaysian businesses. That's the front part of it. And this part is actually looking from the garden in front. There's a linear garden in front of it, looking towards the building. But we do not really see this yet because the front here is not really completed by the client. But your building is completed. You can actually view it from the south and the north side mainly. One of our latest project is called 8 Conley. This one here, due to the concept of the yin and yang in Malaysia, so the building is actually tilted and rotated as it goes up. And this actually consists of 3 towers. It goes up to about 70-story towers and about to 50-story towers. And there are actually 2 towers are residential and 1 tower of office, which is going to be, Kempinski is going to be operating there when it's completed. And you can see that the building actually takes a certain shape. So we actually have to work with the engineer. In this case, it's web structure, to see what is the best option, which is actually cost effective, but at the same time, it still maintain the concept of the yin and yang, which is actually embracing the 2 towers, embracing each other. That's the look of the building from the bottom, where you will have actually a wet deck over here and a dry deck for the residents. In a way, this project is unique because most condominium will have the services facilities on top of the podium parking, but here it's actually being brought up. And these 2 decks are actually also part of the structural system to support the 2 towers. Kempinski Hotel will be operating here in the future. Now that building actually went viral for a while during construction. You can see here, which it says that don't panic, the building is not falling. It's actually not falling, but it's actually because it's twisting as it goes up. So it just reached to that level, which people, the media pick it up and say that it's falling. That's the building under construction now. You can see the twisted part in the bottom, but now it has reached actually much higher. That's the overall look of the building. Now, of course, Merdeka 118 is a different challenge. It's a very mega challenge. It's different, unique. It's tall, and of course, the challenges are also different from some of the other images I showed you just now. It has a tall building has certain characteristic that you need to do it. Then, of course, with the experience that we have just now, it really helped us to have the right equipment, the right experiences to actually work with Chor in carrying out the rest of the work for construction. Now, a little bit of background. The project started in 2010, and now in 2021. The first idea was formulated then by Carl, and then he has gone through the process until today. He has reached actually the rooftop, now in the process of doing the spire, and of course to clad the building and the interior. And like Carl mentioned, PNB is the client. PNB Merdeka Ventures has set up to undertake this project, and a steering committee was formed to deal with the consultant and the contractors in this project directly. And we have the international and of course the executive consultant being the local consultant. And a project of this nature requires, of course, many, many specialists. Here you can see there's actually about 41 different specialists, architects, engineers, and other specialists. These are actually the international companies and firms. These are the local ones. So it's actually a mega task trying to coordinate the whole consultant in different areas. And of course, working with the international consultant, there's always the metrics of the beginning and the end, whereby the beginnings are more done by the concept architect and consultant, including the engineers. And towards the end, the work is transferred to the local consultant. And you can see right now, the amount drawing is going towards 2,000 sheets of drawing, even though the drawing are done mostly paperless, but there are also papers that need to be printed for the authority submission. So the challenges that we will have in carrying out this job, first and foremost, of course, is the authorities. There are about 31 departments that you have to deal with in getting the approval for this project. And that's not even the end of the project yet. Yeah? So we have to start with the local authority, of course, the local council, the BKL as you call it, the fire department, and all the other departments, including the mass rapid transit, which is actually the authority that control the train and the public transportation. So we started this in 2011 with the master plan together with Carl. And then we've gone through the planning permission, we call it the development order, the building plan, and we have to go through all the various authorities. We are not there yet. We are just there now in 2021, coming towards the completion, hopefully soon too. And after that, there will be also post-completion, a couple more years of post-completion to deal with the defects and so on. This is an example of one set of drawings that we have to submit to the authorities. But of course, there's many, many more of these. These are just one of those. Now, project of this scale, communication is very, very important. In this project, we use Econex as our communication platform, where this Econex will be the platform for all correspondences, the data, the audit trail, and so on. Yeah, and the amount of information that actually goes back and forth from the consultant to the contractor to the client is also very tremendous, and you really need a good record keeping and tracking of information. This project is of course done in BIM, and right now it is targeting for LOD 400, and maybe perhaps later it go to 500 for the maintenance part of it. Now, Carl has gone through all the building design, but at our level, we also have to look at the slightly bigger picture, which is to satisfy the local authority requirements. And as you can see, the site is on a 40-acre site. This whole thing is actually 40 acres. What we're talking about now is only part of this, which is the main tower, Merdeka 118, and the gallery. Carl just now has mentioned about the retail complex, but there are also other buildings within the development, which is actually the Southeast Hotel and Residence here, and there's also the West Residence there, and the masjid that's being done by GDP now, and childcare center, and also this Look 118, which is actually at the very end of the linear park, looking back towards the tower. And this is the existing heritage Stadium Merdeka and Stadium Negara. And of course, Chinatown is just here. It's a very interesting place actually to visit if you ever come to Malaysia. And we're just next to that. So, project of nature, of course, there'll be thousands of car park. So the traffic has been actually looked at, including constructing a tunnel, Belfield tunnel, that will take you from this Jalan Syed Putra right in front of the old Istana. You go underground, under this linear park, into the development. Apart from that, this development will also be linked to an existing station. There will also dispersion for pedestrian, bridge that's been constructed here, a walkway bridge, and also the covered walkway, the one in red here, to link this building with the public transportation. Malaysian it rains a lot here. We are in a tropical rainforest climate. We are in a tropical climate. And the rain here, when it rains, it really pours. So it's actually very, very important to make sure that the site or the buildings are actually connected, especially to the main nodes of the train. You can see here, these are actually the major nodes of the train, from the monorail in Jalan Maharaja Lela to the Merdeka Stadium MRT station, the Hang Tuah station, and also the Pudu LRT station. So these red lines are actually a covered walkway that can take you from the Merdeka 118 towards the station without having to go under the rain. And of course, this is actually designed by us. Just like the lobby that Carl has mentioned just now, even the walkway has, some part of it has a glass roof so that you can actually see the tower in different locations as you walk around the site. And this is actually the linear park looking towards the tower from the gallery behind us. And this is actually the walkway taking you from the tower towards the towards the monorail station. Another view of it, looking from the tower towards the gallery, and that's what we cover. And this one here is actually at the Galloway Bridge, which is by the Galloway Road there. Actually, besides taking the people across, because there's a train underneath there, is also to house one of the main power cable line crossing the rail track. That's the pedestrian. Now, this is a very important event, like Carl mentioned. This is the Declaration of Independence by the Tuanku Abdurrahman in 1957. Now, along with this, of course, there's a lot of items that come with it that needs to be housed somewhere, that needs to be displayed for the memory and to commemorate this important occasion. Apart from that, the building at that height need to have a place where you have a foreground where you can actually appreciate and view the tower. So, like Carl mentioned just now, in the master plan, there's a linear park. So here is a gallery plus a lookout point. We call it Look 118, and that's doing exactly that. From here, there will be a viewing point where you can actually sit indoor or outdoor, where you can actually see almost the whole length of the tower. So you have a very good vantage point to appreciate the beauty of the tower. So in plan, that's actually here, Look 118. And historically, where the independence was declared is actually inside this very stadium. So the more it is very meaningful to have all this tower inside, all the building here, because this is the very place where we Malaysians actually declared our independence. So if you look from the top, you can see the linear park with the gallery Look 118 there, and the tower, of course, is on the Merdeka 118 on your left-hand side. So when we design this building, we have to ensure that at a certain point, the glass is there, because the distance is even though it's far, but it's not far enough that you can stand back to look at it in elevation. You actually have to look up towards the tower to see the top, the pinnacle of it. Therefore, the building actually has a glass other than the front is on top to give you that vista point looking towards the tower. So if you look from inside in the future, this is what you will see, where you see the whole length of the tower from the cafe in the gallery situated there. And then if you go to the rooftop, there will be a more open view towards the tower. The Stadium Merdeka is on your right-hand side. And from here, you can see the whole tower, including the other 3 towers next to it. Looking back towards the gallery, it's called Look 118, the expanse of the glass. And there's a cafe inside, looking back towards the tower just now. And of course, on the right-hand side is the entrance. Yeah, there's the entrance into it, to the gallery. It's not such a big gallery, but I think it's going to be a very important gallery. While you have some element you'll be displayed on the tower, here is an opportunity for you to view the tower from outside, and at the same time displaying some of perhaps our independence elements, memorabilia and artifacts. That's the inside, a very simple gallery. Again, from out looking in, and you can see the viewing platform on top, yeah, which is just open. And that's the overall look of it. Now, while Carl has actually explained the different systems that you require when you do a super high-rise like this, I will actually try to show you what happened at site and some of the issues that was faced during the construction of the project. Yeah. So here it is again. If you look at the section, I will take you from the bottom all the way to the top to a different part of the building. Now, of course, compared to the normal tower, this particular building has special features such as the cofferdam and the rough foundation, which is about 4 meters thick. And then, of course, you will have the belt trusses. Some are actually in 3-level height, and some are actually in 2-level heights. And of course, you have the observation deck and the spire. Yeah, the belt trusses actually is to prevent the torsioning and the lateral forces of the tower when the wind blows on it. And that actually, these belt trusses actually link back to the core of the building via the outrigger. Yeah. So if you look at the bottom of the tower, yeah, 4-meter height of rough foundation, that's actually a human scale. And then you have a cofferdam, which is about 30-meter deep. Yeah? And that's 30 meter, of course, is from the ground level here. And within this cofferdam, actually is a round RC structure, there's nothing there except for maybe some boilers and chillers at the very bottom. Now, this is also done partly due to the safety reason. Yeah, so you wouldn't want to have a case where car perhaps is with explosive can come under the building and will have an impact on the building. So actually this is actually to block any of those activities. There's no car park activities down here. Yeah? And then you can see this dotted line. It's actually during the construction, there is actually a weather shelter. The weather shelter actually constructed temporarily while doing this rough foundation. That is partly to help the curing of the concrete because it's actually 4 meter deep and is actually 18,600 cubic meter of concrete that need to be poured. So you need time for it to cure. So this was actually done partly because of that, to allow the curing without having the heat and rain destroying or disturbing it. And the diameter is about 76 meter of this round cofferdam. And those round things are actually the bore pile, like Carl mentioned. And it's about, it's done in 3 sections of pouring of the rough. Yeah? Not 1, but 3, because the volume is so big, they have to be done in 3 sections. And the concrete for the foundation has to be capped at certain degrees. It cannot exceed 25 degrees, I believe. But the number of trucks that come almost clocked the city road at that time when it was done the pouring, because of the amount of concrete that it has. So this is actually the shelter, part of the shelter structure from during construction. And this is the shelter structure actually from outside. And because we need to keep the concrete at a certain temperature, there is actually a liquid nitrogen station, you can see here, whereby if the truck comes with the concrete and the concrete exceeds a certain temperature, it will be driven there to cool down the concrete before it will be allowed to come into the site proper to pour the concrete. Yeah? So there's a nitrogen station done at site during the pouring. And the amount of steel, rebar, that's inside this cofferdam to form the rough foundation is just tremendous. Yeah? You can see here by the scale and in the picture. This is one section of the rough foundation. They are done in 3 sections. This is actually one section of it before the pouring. And inside the cofferdam, there's only the, like I mentioned earlier, some M&E item. Now, the tower has a north and south entrance. The north entrance is by Jalan Hang Jebat at the lower level, L1 as we call it. And the south foyer or entrance on level L4, where you actually have a main atrium. The atrium that is about 30-odd story high is actually located on the south entrance. And if you look at the drawing here, that's actually a human scale. Yeah. So the atrium is actually that high, 36 level atrium. It's actually a void facing the south side towards the Merdeka Stadium. And it's going to be one experience once it's finished, I would think. If you approach the building from the south side, that's the atrium under construction. Even now, if you can see in town, it's actually not cladded yet. That part that's not cladded is actually the atrium. And then as you come in, under construction now, yeah, there's the atrium. There's a feature that Carl talked about just now, as you approach the atrium. And from below, looking up during construction, with all the steel frame, and that's how it look like now. And then on the north side, this photo is actually very recent. The north side is still under construction, of course, and this is the framing of the canopy on the north side. And of course, there's other lobby spaces, double volume. Like Carl mentioned about this belt truss, the concept of belt truss on a super high rise. Let me explain a bit. Actually, we have 6 locations there. There's some that actually single-story belt truss, and there are actually, the other one will be a 3-story belt trusses. So this belt truss are actually linked back to the tower via the outrigger. Again, like I mentioned, is to prevent the lateral forces and also the torsion of the building of this nature. You wouldn't need all this normally in a lower rise building. And if you look inside the belt trusses, example of belt trusses, mega column and the outrigger is actually quite huge. And really, even on that floor, it actually can form a very nice space, actually. It's quite dramatic in the office space. And there's another view of it, of the mega column. And this is the outrigger attaching the trusses on the perimeter. And the very top, the last outriggers on the top of the building. Now, on a typical floor, there are also its own features. It has its own features where you have, apart from the outriggers and the belt trusses, in Carl design, there's also this wing wall. Actually quite interesting. It's an interesting office to be in if you're there. And then there's also a hammerhead. Hammerhead actually is forming part of the core structure that goes up to the roof. And these little guys here are actually the link of the outrigger between the mega column and the core. Yeah, and then these are the belt trusses. And then, of course, in between, you have another secondary columns, but the columns are small. One reason is actually by having a big column here, you manage to keep all these smaller columns to have a more free and open view to the outside. And of course, the observation deck, the two lift. This will be another experience coming from the lobby. It will take you an express lift that take you to up to level 115. And the lift is actually double decker. It's going to be a glass lift. So you can imagine if you go up there, 115 stories, and looking at Kuala Lumpur towards the KLCC side, because it's actually towards the north side. Yeah. And inside there, there's actually 4 fire lifts, the one that's shaded in red. Yeah. Now, that's the structural wall, the core walls, and the 8 mega columns, as you can see there. And this is the real core of the building. And the hammerhead dimension is actually there. And again, the amount of steel work, the rebar, the density of the rebar is just tremendous. And then the core wall, of course, using a jump form. These are actually the formwork, but it will actually move up via this hydraulic system, automatic climbing hydraulic system. They call it ACS by Doka. That will push the jump form as it goes up. And then the mega column, you can see the rebar again, and the steel fabrication of the floor structure before the bond deck comes in. Yeah. And this is the wing wall from the roof. It's very angled here. It's actually in steel deck. And when you look from the bottom, once it's cladded, it forms a very interesting shape that is part of the concept of the building. And on a typical floor is about 4.3 meters. In a normal office space, it's about 3 meter floor to ceiling height, and it has a 500 raised floor on all the floors, except of course the hotel and the special floors. Yeah. And it's double glazing unit with DG unit and using a bond deck slab. That's the bond deck slab before the concrete is poured on the floor. And that's the typical floor at the moment. Some floors has been completed as such with a raised floor. That's how it looks like. And then, of course, the vertical transmission on a super high-rise lift is one of the key elements of the design. There are 89 numbers of lift here. The one that is in yellow, you can see the one in yellow boxes. These are actually double-decker lift. So we have a double-decker lift and also a single-decker lift. Yeah, so there's 2 types of lift. And of course, there's one that actually take you the observation deck that will take you all the way up to 115, where you arrive at the lobby of the observation deck from level 1. Apart from that, there's also on the tower and its podium, not including the shopping complex, there's actually 18 units of escalators in total. Yeah. This lift is actually interesting. This is the lift actually on the north side of the tower, where you have a double-decker observation lift. This actually comes from level 1 all the way to 115 that I mentioned just now, where you actually come out at the observation level lobby. The lift motorroom itself actually is sitting right underneath the spire. Yeah? And then on top of that, the lift will has its own cleaning maintenance, building maintenance unit, BMU, just for the lift, because it's actually on its own on the north side. That's actually the lift core is not concrete, but it's actually steel frame. For the cleaning of the building, there will be 7 numbers in total. Some are housed at level 97, 4 units of those. And then 3 of those will be at the rooftop level to clean the rest of the tower. Yeah, so some will be here to clean all the way down. And this one is to clean that part. And there's one more here to clean the lift, front of the lift, which comes down to the ground. So there's 7 numbers of BMU to maintain this building. And you can see the top part of the BMU. They actually a house here. This is to clean 97 to the roof. And this one is just to clean this express lift. That's the BMU unit. That's at level 97 now. Yeah, it's actually a swing. It will swing out before the arm will swing out to clean the face of the facade of the building. The spire itself, at the moment is about, that's the height. It comes in 3 sets of different staircases, from a dogleg staircases to spiral, and we get to the very top, you just be on a cat ladder because it's getting very small. Yeah, and then these are actually done in segment because of the height, and it's not too big. So the construction of these actually the steel are done in segment, where you can see each segment of these are constructed on ground and they'll be lifted on top, and they'll be jointed to form the spire. Now, on May 2019, they managed to achieve 20 million man-hours work without lost time injury. And then February 2021, that number has climbed to 40 million man-hours work without lost time injury. So from November 2015 to March 2021, there's already 36 million man days work on this project, and it's not even completed yet. Yeah. So this picture was taken in May 2019 when they have that celebration, and this one was taken February 2021 for the other no loss injury celebration. This is us, actually, our team on the rooftop. Okay. Farid, Jafar there, and the contractor. That's just to show you the size of this outrigger beam. But really, like Carl mentioned, the real heroes for all this is actually the worker. 3,200 workers, plus or minus, per day working on this building. Yeah? And imagine during the pandemic, during the recent outbreak that we have, the project also, of course, have to be stopped for a while and have to go through the testing and so on. It's tremendous. Yeah. And I'll just show you some of the shots of the workers. You have to try to find them. One there. There's one right there, right at the edge of that height. I hope he's wearing a safety harness. And where is it? Here's one more there. And the height of that is something else. It's looking down from. And the heat, if you go up there with our climate of humidity, with the heat there, it's something else. And no wonder Carl was sweating profusely just now, just for 2 hours. So that's another one of them. These people are actually wonderful people. If you go to site, they're just full of smile and warm. Yeah. You see that? Ever willing to take photos. Yeah. That's level 118. You can see labeling there, coming to the roof, going into the lift. And you can see on his helmet there, it says core wall. I guess this guy must have been assigned just to do core wall. Yeah. So I just quickly show you the construction lapse, time lapse from the beginning. That's the holes in the ground, the cofferdam, and then the lean concrete before the core start coming up, and then the 8 mega columns and the main core start to climb up. And then the floor starts to come in. As you climb higher, the glass, the facade glass starts to come in. Now, of course, like Carl mentioned just now, and we know we are Malaysian here, KL has some really nice heritage building. And of course, the concept of this building that was explained just now is partly, fundamentally, actually, is that also. It takes the cue from that. Yeah. So it is, to us, I think it will be a new heritage in the future. This building, actually, if KL is looking towards this building from different side, from this one here from the north, it started to warm up. It started to embrace by the city itself. Yeah, from the north, this is how it looks like. Northeast, different time of the day. From the east, like Carl mentioned, it become a new landmark that give you the sense of direction towards the city. This from the west, from Chinatown, and from Bukit Tengku, from the northwest. Beautiful. And from the Lake Garden, if you go towards Lake Garden in the morning. And when the tower itself looking towards the north, it's looking to its the Twin Tower and of course the KL Tower. Yeah, it's joining this tall building in Kuala Lumpur, the family of tall building in Kuala Lumpur. And this is actually from the National Mosque in early morning hours, where you can see the tower here is our heritage building, but how the tower are actually warming towards each other in that sense, yeah? Embracing each other. Now, that's the building, but the Malaysian people itself, KL folks, tourists alike, they are also starting to look at this tower in different ways. So here are some collages of how the people actually look at the tower through social media and so on, Facebook, Instagram, and things like that. Yeah, you can see that they start to put these towers in their Instagram with their own personal comments. You know, some are funny comments. Yeah. So really, at different time of the day, and the reflectivity of the glass, and the different facade, because the tower is not symmetrical in terms of the look when you go around it, it's really something interesting and beautiful. That's from someone video is above the cloud. Yeah. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.